This is FDS CFL Season 3, Andy, Episode 6.
Week 4 of the CFL season is in the books. We're rolling into Week 5.
Yeah.
Week 4 was painful on all kinds of accounts, really. I mean, yeah, it was a rough week.
I got a little funky with my fantasy football team this week.
Yeah.
And I paid the price for it.
I saw that.
I'm still maintaining my third place in the FDS pool. I don't know where I am in the Schooners pool, but
I'll tell you.
I assume you'll have an update for me.
Oh, I got that. I got
All right.
that. Now, you're still ahead of me, too. But just know, like I mentioned last week, it's a long season. I'm catching up faster than you want me to.
Don't worry. I'm turning around this week.
All right, good stuff. Let's run through the games real quick. Thursday night game, Hamilton at Montreal. I had picked Hamilton as my lock of the week. I think we both anticipated Hamilton just wipe the floor with them like they did the game before. But the Owls catch Hamilton's defense, run defense specifically, just completely napping for the entire game. At least it felt that way. They handled them 36-29. Despite a pretty big night from Jeremiah Masoli, 400-plus yards passing. Here's my question for you, Ray, because I know that you've been trying to temper everybody's expectations around Hamilton and throw a little water on that fire. And I've also been trying to, temper the Montreal thing a little bit in the opposite direction. But which of these teams that we saw Thursday night are closer to the reality here? Like, do you think maybe Hamilton was just a really, really bad night?
I've been saying since week 1, Andy.
Yeah.
That Hamilton is not who we think they are. I've been saying that this team is not as strong as the Ticats teams in the past. They really, the offense they showed in week 1 at home against Saskatchewan was alarming to me. But then they go and put up 64 points against Toronto, and everybody thinks that the Ticats are back. And I kept saying, hold on.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the Montreal Alouettes surprised the Ticats. But, Andy, I don't want to call it a surprise because their defense was all over the offensive line. Mazzoli had no time whatsoever. And every time he tried to make something happen with his legs, that defense tracked him down, hunted him, and basically had him stuffed by the end of the game.
Yeah, they played extremely well all across the board. Again, big shout out to their offensive line and their running game. And you're right, the defense as well. So, we'll take this moment to reach out to Ticats fans and maybe talk about our sponsors a little bit, because I think nobody like the Ticats fan right now could use a beer more than the Ticats fans. If you're going to get a beer, you might as well get yourself a Moose Light, because why, Ray?
This stuff is scary good.
Scary, almost as scary as that loss to Montreal, right? And if you need a cool t-shirt like that with a big logo on it, or a hat with a matching logo on it, go see our buddies the Doyles at Doyle Corporate Image, because
the Doyles rule.
The Doyles rule. The Friday night game, Ray, we got Winnipeg visiting Ottawa. The Bombers roll in and neutralize Dominic Davis entirely.
Yeah.
And the entire rushing attack, really, for the Red Blacks altogether. Nichols left the game early. We'll get into a bit of that later on, but it really didn't matter. Is this potentially the real Dominic Davis, or what do you think?
Listen, this is Dominic Davis. He's already had a couple big wins to go with his season already. He was facing the number 1 team in the CFL. The number 1 defense by a landslide in the CFL.
Okay. And
the Winnipeg Blue Bombers came in and did what they do, and they wreaked havoc on that offense. Moses Madu, he had 6 carries for 18 yards, Andy. It's pretty tough for an offense to get going without with a guy that can't even put up 50 yards on the ground. Yeah. All you have to do is look at the BC Lions and see how that works for Mike Riley. If it doesn't work for Mike Riley, my guess, it's not going to work for Dominic Davis.
Fair enough. 29-14 stomping at home. Now, the best defense in the entire league that you keep calling them. I'm surprised you're not wearing your Bombers hat tonight. Is that a bit of a mercy move for your old team, the Red Blacks?
No, I got to give you a little little bit of a local sports story here. So I got called to go to a CTV news spot
down at the field.
Down at the field. So I went down, did an interview with CTV. as I got there, I run into head coach of the Moncton Mustangs, Jason Terrace, and I'm wearing my Winnipeg Blue Bombers hat.
Right.
Terrace is looking at me like he's going to knock me out as I'm walking up towards him and the reporter. You know why?
Why?
That Blue Bombers hat can be easily mistaken for the St. John Wanderers hat.
Yeah.
So, Terrace, if you're watching this tonight, I'm sticking with my FDS hat.
There we go.
I can't promise for how long, though.
Saturday, game 1, Ray. What a crazy game this was. BC rolls into Toronto. A last-second rouge gives BC the win, a much-needed win on the road, and a much-needed win overall, to be honest with you. My gosh, I mean, the Toronto had to be absolutely heartbroken. A kickoff out of bounds is what put Mike Riley into position to get them ready for that field goal. They had a simple enough field goal to the point where Toronto was bringing everybody after the kick because they knew that if this guy missed, it was definitely sailing out of the end zone, but... They go, BC shoots themselves in the foot with a false start. They have to back up 5 yards, giving Toronto the shot. The guy misses the field goal for them, and the ball is fielded with 1 foot stepping out of the back of the end zone. Listen, in the NFL, everything is overreacted to. As you know, after that Saints game where the call was missed on Saints-Rams, call was missed on a pass interference, boom, all of a sudden pass interference reviewable, overreacting. Do you think it would be overreacting for the Toronto Argonauts to look at this loss and go another 2 feet at the back of that end zone, which is what should be, and this thing goes to overtime, maybe we win that game? Do you think it would be overreacting for them to finally fix those damn end zones?
No, listen. I work university football too. There's a lot of funky end zones at numerous different fields across the region. Those fields sometimes work for you, Andy, and sometimes they work against you.
Yep.
This one worked against the Argos, but I'm sure there are many plays from the history of the Argos where those short end zones have helped the Argos.
Well, even Montreal's end zone are kind of cut off on the corners there for that track, right? Yeah. So, you use it to your advantage. In this particular case, it was a disadvantage.
That returner, though, has to know where his feet are.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another great thing.
He took ownership of it.
I'll tell you another great thing. Great call by the official, the covering official, because a lot of officials get caught watching the ball, Andy. Yep. This guy was watching the feet. So good job to the covering official.
Good job doing your job. All right. There we go. The second game, a real late one for us over here on the East Coast. Calgary storms into Saskatchewan and annihilates them 37-10. Your boy Cody Fajardo, he gets the mercy hook, basically. He gets sent to the bench just because there's nothing more he could do for this. The defending champs show how strong they are as a team. Arbuckle, or as you called him last week, Archibald. Yeah, he looks.
I've called him a few different names.
Yeah, he looks sharp once again, just like the entire team. Your take it last week, because we're about to get to take it and leave it, was Fajardo.
Yeah.
Are you leaving him now?
No, absolutely not. Listen.
It's fair.
This kid, I still think is a good quarterback, and right. For the last few weeks, Andy, I've talked about the fact this kid finally learned he has the confidence to play in this league. He found what it was like, what it took to win in this league. Mm-hmm. Well, now he's learned what it takes to get your ass kicked in this league and how you're going to rebound from that.
100%.
He was playing the Grey Cup champions. And even though I've been hard on Calgary this year, they're still the Grey Cup champions. There are some nerves for Fajardo going into this game, obviously. Especially, playing in front of that big home crowd. Even though it's a home crowd, that's nervous, right? 33,000 people on hand.
Yeah.
I would not over panic, and I'm watching you Rough Rider fans on social media over panicking. Give this kid a week. Let's see how he rebounds and comes out swinging.
Yep. Good enough. All right, Ray. It's time for your take it and leave it of the week, and I can't wait to hear this because there was an awful lot of things out there on the field this week that I would be leaving. I'll tell you that.
There's a lot, and I got to find my papers here. I don't have them organized in the proper order. So. But the first thing I need to do, we talk about the fact we're sponsored by Moose Light.
Sure.
All right, there's a couple things that got me rattled up this week, Andy.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to calm my nerves down with a little Moosehead Rattler.
Peach Rattler.
And this is the Peach Rattler.
Wow. Taste test, guys?
I love it.
You like that?
I love the Peach Rattler. I have to be honest. Great job, Moosehead. It's scary good. If you're not going to get yourself a Moose Light, get yourself a Peach Moose Radler.
Peach Radler. All
right, let's talk about my tickets.
Yeah.
Because my ticket this week, I'm going with another young quarterback, and that is Nick Armbuckle. That's Arbuckle. And see what I've done, Andy, on my sheets. You guys can't see it. Just so I can prevent any errors going forward.
I see that.
Buckle.
I see that. That's pretty good.
All right. Yeah. So there you go. Arbuckle.
Still going to screw it up.
Listen, this kid comes out. I'm sure. We just talked about Fajardo. I'm sure this kid had the nerves going too. Getting ready to go on against Saskatchewan. Everybody knows Saskatchewan's home field, Moosehead Field, is one of the toughest places to play in the CFL.
Second toughest, according to the Winnipeg fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so there was definitely some nerves on this kid. But this kid is cool, calm, and collective. He goes 19 for 22, Andy.
Yep.
262 yards. 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He hit a huge pass, which really was the nail in the coffin for this game, to Reggie Begelton. Yeah. That's the best I got on that one. I got Arbuckle.
Reggie Begelton.
All right. Yeah. So that was a 76-yard pass right over the middle seam. And, Andy, that pass was the dagger, really, in this game, in my opinion.
100%.
Coach Dickinson at the end of the game, I love some of the comments he made. He said, this is a confident kid, and he's not afraid to take a chance. So, a lot of times with young quarterbacks, they hold the ball a second too long, and the defenders are coming in off the ends, and they get themselves into trouble. This kid was stepping into the pocket, delivering his passes with confidence. I really like what this kid's doing. What's interesting, with Bo Levi Mitchell now on the 6-game disabled list, this kid's got another 5 games under center as long as he doesn't get hurt.
Yep.
And if he puts 5 more W's on the board, or a number of W's on the board,
several,
we're going to have a full-fledged quarterback controversy in Calgary.
At the very least, Arbuckle can make a name for himself and position himself to start for another team next year, potentially, or if things get crazy, but we're not going there yet.
Well, listen.
What are you leaving? Rick?
There's a couple other teams that need quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
All I'm saying, watch out for the quarterback controversy in Calgary. There's only room for one horse in that stable, if you will.
Gosh, good one.
See how I did that?
Good one.
Good one. All right. Yeah. Let's go to my leave it. My leave it, I could go all over the place, Andy.
Okay.
I could go Hamilton.
Yeah.
All right. But I've been hard on Hamilton all year.
True.
Right?
Yep.
I have been. And everybody's saying that I'm overreacting with putting Montreal ahead of Hamilton in my power rankings. No. I have been hard on Hamilton all year. And how I've been calling it is the way it's been playing out with Hamilton.
Well, okay. Anyway,
BC. I could take it to BC.
Sure, why not?
I have taken it to BC already. Mike Riley, you guys are a disaster in BC right now. I'm not going to go to BC today.
Where are we going?
Toronto coaching staff. Love to get on the coaching staff with what happened at the end of that game. But instead of talking about the coaching staff, I'm going to talk about the final play. Okay. Now, Jeannie B is not going to be she's not going to be, I'm not going to be a super popular fan of Jeannie B's books because she loves this play, and that is the Rouge. Andy.
Yeah.
I love the Rouge in Canadian football.
The Rouge.
I love it. It's an aspect of the game you've got to plan for, especially in the final moments of a football game. As a head coach, as a coordinator, as a player on the field, you have to prep yourself for that Rouge coming. And especially if he would have caught that ball in the end zone legally.
Yeah.
Kicking it back out of the end zone may have been the next play.
It might have been the move.
That's right.
I love when that happens.
I love that happens.
Yeah.
But that being said, Andy, I have to say as a Canadian football official, I don't think any team should actually lose a game. Hold on, let me back up. I don't think any team should win a game on a missed field goal.
Okay.
If you punt the ball through the end zone, that's one thing. But on a missed field goal, I don't think a team should win a football game. So I'm not saying that the CFL needs to make big changes now, but I wouldn't be upset if the CFL came out with a rule change and said with the last minute of a football game, the last minute, if a field goal goes wide, no rouge points can be assessed on that kick.
All right. Well, I'm not going to argue with you on this one other than say that I don't agree with this take. I think if there's a scoring play in the game, then that score should be applicable at all times. It's only a single point. The fact that BC was even in position to do this was entirely on the special teams on the opposite side.
Oh, absolutely.
So
and that's why I'm saying Toronto's coaches shouldn't be left off the hook here. There was a huge mistake by this Toronto coaching staff.
Yep.
But I think my comments about the Toronto Argos last night, I think my comments of the Toronto Argos last week was enough for that team. Sorry, my phone's ringing here, folks.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. I'm not taking it. It's my daughter, Nikki Dunn, calling me.
I get it. You, no, I get it there, Ray. And again, I don't know. I think it's got to stay. So, and we'll leave it at that. All right, let's talk about power rankings. We're both getting some flack for our power rankings this week. I'll run through mine first, okay? Because I've got a lot of explaining to do. I've had some comments. I know you've told me about some Facebook comments. The theme for me this week was that I felt as though you and others have been overreacting on a weekly basis to a lot of that's been happening. So this week I decided that I was going to underreact, or at the very least not overreact. Now, right off the bat, a bunch of people on Facebook are saying, you say you're not going to overreact, and then you move Calgary 3 spots on your power rankings from 5 to 2. I totally
overreaction.
Totally understand how that can look like an overreaction, but I'll explain myself. So let me run through them really quickly. Winnipeg stays at 1 for obvious reasons. Calgary jumps from 5 all the way to 2. I'm going to explain the math in that in a second. Edmonton stays at 3. Hamilton drops from 2 down to 4. Ottawa drops from 4 down to 5.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
They should never have been in 2 in the first place, but go ahead.
We'll get there anyway. Ottawa drops from 4 down to 5. Saskatchewan stays at 6. BC stays at 7. Montreal stays at 8. Toronto stays at 9. Now, I was called out by a guy named Jeremy on our website saying, very nice comment, super respectful comment, just saying I'd like to hear Andy's case as to why he would continue to have BC ahead of Montreal, considering who Montreal beat versus who BC beat.
Yeah.
Fair point, Jeremy. And again, I'm just trying not to overreact to things. I at the end of the day, I still look at BC, and then I look at Montreal, and I ask myself, who's the best team? And I say BC. And BC's got the better quarterback, and they're finding themselves. And I still... Look, a case could be made, but I'm sticking with it. Now, let me explain the Calgary move from 5 to 2, Ray. All right, you say every week, no team in your power rankings ever loses a spot on a bye week.
Right.
Well, I don't agree with that, but no team on my power ranking is ever gaining a spot when they're on a bye week. I had to move Calgary, and I had to move Calgary ahead of Hamilton. I had to drop Hamilton after that disaster in Montreal. Well, who's sitting there? Edmonton's sitting there at number 3. There's no way I'm giving them a spot. There's no way I'm giving them a spot on a bye week. So, based on that, Calgary had to move all the way to 2 to stay for Edmonton to stay where they are and to move ahead of Hamilton. That's where it is. You can buy it if you want to buy it. You can leave it if you're not buying this. That's my best explanation, folks. But those are my power rankings. I'm sticking by them, Ray. And I feel like all the teams are slotted right where they need to be.
Well, all I can tell you is it's a good thing I've already completed my leave it for the week, Andy, because I'd be leaving that excuse for moving Calgary up. Now,
fair enough.
Talk about mine real quick. I'm getting heat over the Edmonton move, putting Edmonton at number 2 on a bye week. Well, listen, folks.
2-spot jump.
I look at who are the best teams at the end of week 4. I do look at it on a week-to-week basis, okay? Winnipeg is without a shadow of the doubt the number 1 team in the CFL right now. They got my number 1. When I looked at the number 2, it was tough for me. Ottawa lost. Hamilton lost. Calgary, I had down. They moved up for me. But there was no way I was moving Calgary up to number 2. No way I was doing it.
Right.
If I have to look at the best teams in the league right now, in my opinion, and again, power rankings are an opinionated
All it is.
It's opinions. It's opinion. And in my opinion, Edmonton is the second strongest team in the CFL right now, which is why they get that number 2 spot. It's not that they moved up. It's just it's how it rolls out.
Fair enough.
Ottawa's going to stay in 3 because I want to see how Dominic Davis bounces back. I'm
leaving that reason. Right? But anyway, keep going.
Regardless, Ottawa's a good football team. I made Calgary number 4. So Stampeder fans, I'm not underestimating Calgary. They moved up. They moved up 2 spots for me last week. But I need to see how Arbuckle can continue. He had a big win. Fajardo didn't play very well. Let's see how Arbuckle goes down the road. That doesn't mean that they're stuck in number 4. Let's see what happens. Montreal Alouettes, boy, I'm getting some heat because I moved the Alouettes up. Well, who's a better football team right now? Montreal Alouettes, Saskatchewan, or Hamilton? I feel more comfortable about watching Montreal's defense and their quarterback situation than Saskatchewan, and they just laid a smackdown on Hamilton. A smackdown. And again, for 4 weeks now, Andy, I've been telling you, Hamilton's not that strong of a football team.
Okay.
I'm 100% right in my reading of the Hamilton Ticats. That's why Montreal's ahead of those 2 teams. BC Lions, they're lucky they're not in 11th place. Because of that field goal, I let them stay ahead of Toronto, even though I think Ron Burgundy outplayed Mike Riley in that football game.
Definitely down the stretch.
So, there's my power rankings. I had a comment by a Joe Russo. Yeah, in one of the CFL groups. He's got a picture of a dog, Andy. He doesn't even have a picture of himself as his profile. He's got a picture of a dog.
Clearly, this is not the Russo. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I know the Russo you're talking about. Yeah. This guy come out. I don't mind fun comments. And even this guy comes out and says, Ray's a moron. I just went back saying, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. But you know what? This guy's profile, he's got nothing but pictures of his dogs. He's got one picture of him playing golf out of a bunker. Well, if you want to call a guy a moron and shoot 120 on the golf course, Joe, all the best to you.
Wow.
All the best to you.
Wow.
Anyway,
right? Yeah, thanks for that comment, Joe Russo. All right.
Maybe you need to have a peach rattler and settle down, Joe.
That'll fix that beach game for you. You'll get out of the bunker after that. All right, Ray, run us through some odds and ends for the week. What's going on in the world?
Let's go to odds and ends. Lots of stuff going on in odds and ends. First thing I want to talk about in odds and ends, Andy.
Yeah.
We had another quarterback almost commit suicide in the CFL this week. Matt Nichols runs the ball through, and rather than slide, decides he's going to go face first into a linebacker, and nearly... I was shocked that he got up and walked away from the situation.
It's pretty brutal, yeah. You caught me off guard there. I didn't realize there was so much hyperbole there, but I got you. All right.
Caleros.
Yep.
Mike Riley nearly...
When he landed on his head.
Oh, my goodness. Now Matt Nichols. Quarterbacks, you got to slide, okay? I follow a lot of quarterbacks as a referee, and I even want to yell out as a referee, get down, get down, get down. And Matt Nichols... If you get into that situation again, get down.
Yep,
Don't be sliding. Don't be going into a linebacker like that. Those guys are paid to kill you.
Yeah, slide and
get down.
If you learned anything from the Calero slide too, slide early.
Now,
real early.
Nichols has come out in his post-game interview, which he was actually allowed to have a post-game interview.
Interesting.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But he says it was dumb of me not to slide earlier. So... Okay. Hopefully he can put that in his memory bank so that, that doesn't continue to happen.
Yep.
Touchdown Atlantic, Andy.
Here we go.
Lots of stuff going on with Touchdown Atlantic. The Schooners, SSE, came out and announced this week that they're going to drop their prices even further. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me just tell you this real quick. They have 2 end zones, okay? 96.9, which is a radio station here in Moncton.
The country station.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're sponsoring the family zone.
Okay.
So in the family zone, that's the south end zone of the field. Tickets are $29. C103, the rock station in Moncton.
Classic rock station.
They are sponsoring the party zone. which is the north end of the stadium. You have to be 19 and over to be in that section, and it's $45 a ticket. That's a big drop from the ticket prices that first came out at $80 a seat.
65, I think, was the lowest one, way in the top or something. Yeah.
They got a whole bunch of new sponsors and partners. One of their partners for the game is Ambassadors. They're going to be handling all the busing, or they're going to be offering busing from Charlottetown, Halifax, St. John, and Fredericton. It's about approximately $35 for a seat on the bus, and that will get you to and from the game
to the stadium,
which is great.
Yep.
Let's talk about the people that bought tickets prior to the reduction of the ticket prices.
Like us.
Yeah. We had ours
day one.
So if you've already bought your tickets, the Schooners are going to offer you 3 options. 1, you can use a credit towards additional tickets. 2, you can get a credit towards your current season tickets or apply for season tickets.
Yeah.
And 3, you can get an actual physical refund where they'll credit your debit card or credit card back.
Yep.
That's unbelievable, Andy.
It's great.
I've never seen a situation, really, in my life that I can think of, where an event is overpriced, they drop pricing, and then give refunds to the people that have bought tickets. I've never seen this before.
You know what's interesting is when we had Anthony on, he said, that the most popular seats to sell early on were the more expensive sections. And these are like the one we're in, where those prices actually haven't dropped. The fact that they're willing to do this tells me, because the infrastructure and everything involved in crediting all this stuff back, I mean, it's going to be a lot to manage unless there's really not that many.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how many of the tickets that have drastically dropped in price really sold versus the other tickets. And I guess we'll never know. I think it's awesome that they're doing it. I think it's awesome that they're bringing the ticket prices down. Everybody keeps bitching about the lack of marketing and everything around here. And the people who are doing that are obviously looking for the old school traditional marketing, like radio stations and everything like that. Listen, we now have 2 radio stations sponsoring the 2 end zones. I think you're going to start hearing a couple ads.
You're going to start hearing some ads. And listen, people, the sky's not falling. The team is not being put to rest yet. I keep seeing on social media people going on about the fact this team's never going to come to fruition. It's going to happen. Just give it time. Yeah. Give it time.
And Touchdown Atlantic not being a raging success isn't going to impact that.
Has no impact. Anthony LeBlanc said that specifically on our show, that was not going to be a driving factor in the Schooners, the future of the Schooners.
Right. If it was, he would have ordered 2 different teams to show up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. He didn't say that. I just said that. Anthony did not say that. Go.
We got another big controversy we got to talk about real quick.
Okay.
I was on Reddit today. Andy, I got a new phone.
You know I hate when you're on Reddit.
I know. I got a new phone, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting any updates from Reddit on it. I had to sign back in on my new phone. So now I've signed back in.
You never thought of
I'm getting my updates. Maybe that guy was right that I'm a moron. I don't know. But anyways, I'm starting to get my updates again. And this guy on the CFL group, whatever you call it on Reddit, his name is Josh Way TV.
Yeah.
He is suggesting, I'm going to take it a little bit further, but TSN is trying to ruin the Argos franchise. And they're trying to do that, Andy, because they refuse to film the BMO field, the side that the crowd sits on.
Yep.
I'm going to show you a picture here right below us.
Sure.
And you can see how packed that side of the stadium is versus when you watch it on TV, there's nobody in the stands.
Oh, there's a lot of reasons why, again, I don't know why they refuse to film it, Ray, other than I think the cameras are really set up to broadcast primarily from one side. But you're right. I've sat in the west side of BMO Field a few times. It is packed.
Yeah.
And when you sit in the east side, you're exposed to the sun and there's not as many people. It's just not as comfortable, and that's why fewer people sit there. But I guess maybe that lighting is why they set the cameras that way. You're right. They need to throw some courtesy shots at the fans from time to time. Right?
There's 3 potential reasons why they're not doing this.
Okay.
You got it with the sun. You nailed that one. The sun, the cost of cabling to have the cameras on the other side, and the ad boards. Apparently, the ad boards are on the opposite side of the field. But I've been to a few CFL games, and those ad boards run all the way around the field. So I don't know if I fully buy that side of it. There's a guy on Reddit. His name's Beardslife. He's an Ottawa fan. He says he's happy to see the Argos fans' seats empty. That's a stupid comment. Wow. I don't care if you're a Red Blacks fan, a Rough Riders fan. You want every team to be successful in this league. You don't want to have a team like the Alouettes right now where they're trying to find an owner for this team. That doesn't show strength in the league. Yeah. You want to have every team strong. And when we are Schooner fans one day, I'm never going to sit and say, I hope those BC Lions can't sell out.
You heard it here on First Down Sports Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. There was a stupid comment on Reddit.
I reached out to Randy Lennox, the Bell Media president, for comment, Andy, and he's unavailable for comment. That's all I can tell you. So we're going to let this rumor linger. It looks like TSN may or may not be trying to take down the Argos, but we'll see what comes out on social media over it.
All right.
That's your odds and ends for the week.
Odds and ends. All right. Let's talk about our picks in fantasy because, like I said, this was a sad week. It was rough. We'll start with our picks. Ray, we both went 2-2 on the week. I picked Ottawa. I just felt like Ottawa was going to have a big showing against Winnipeg. Didn't happen whatsoever. I picked Hamilton as my lock of the week, so I missed my lock there. So those are my two games that I got wrong. Also, you also called Hamilton. And I believe you're upset you chose Toronto.
I had to take Toronto.
Almost pulled that off, by the way. You almost pulled that off.
I had to take Toronto.
Your other option was a disaster. You went with that one, right? So on the season, I'm now 8-7, clinging on to being above 500. Clinging on.
Okay.
And I'm 1-3 in my locks and upsets. Like, this is getting sad. You are 10-5, doing well, 2-2 in your locks and upsets.
Okay.
All right. Now, do you want to quickly run through the picks for this game? Yes, of course you do. Picks, Thursday. Coming into week 5, Edmonton is visiting BC. So, coming off a bye, Trevor Harris, ready to rock against the team that you very well could have had in your Leave It segment earlier.
Yep.
What's going to happen?
Edmonton's going to go in and roll these guys again. They've got a good defense, too. Harris is going to have this offense rolling. I know we didn't score any touchdowns in the last games, folks, but listen, this is still a very productive offense. Watch out for Greg Ellingson. These guys are going to take it to the BC Lions, and I'm expecting the Edmonton Eskimos to win big.
All right. I won't go that far, but I'm also taking Edmonton to get a big road victory coming off their bye week. So it'd be disappointing for BC not to ride any of the momentum from that win, but what are you going to do? Friday, we got Toronto visiting Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So coming off that heartbreaking loss at home to the BC Lions, they now have to travel to the toughest place to play in the CFL against the toughest defense in the CFL. What do you suppose is going to happen, Ray?
Andy, I am announcing my lock right now. I'm going to lock it in with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Nichols is going to be back in this game. And Andrew Harris. Watch out for Andrew Harris this week, Andy, because this guy could have a monster game against that Toronto defense.
He should.
And Winnipeg should win this game handedly.
All right. I'm going Winnipeg, too. There was only one place to go with that one. All right. The first Saturday game, we have Montreal visiting Ottawa. Montreal coming off that big win.
Tough game to pick this week, Andy.
It is.
Tough game to pick because you know what? I want to start cheering for the Montreal Alouettes because that might be my home team for the Touchdown Atlantic.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're running in against the Red Blacks. Dominic Davis is, as we said, he had a tough week last week against the number one defense. We're going to see him rebound this week, and he's going to defend against the Alouettes at home and win this game as the Red Blacks will get back on the winning track.
All right. I need an upset this week as it's my turn.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with Montreal to roll into Ottawa and win on the road. I don't feel good about it at all, but I don't feel great about Ottawa either. So Let's see if they can ride that momentum. And I promise anybody who had an issue with my power rankings this week, if Montreal goes into Ottawa and runs the ball like that, or even better, if they can't run the ball like that and they make up for it in the air, I'll be very impressed. And I promise Montreal will be awarded in the power rankings.
That running back for Montreal is amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing. That guy,
except for when I pick him in fantasy.
Yeah. He can bounce outside and he can do all kinds of great things.
He had an
William Stanback is his name.
Willie Stanback.
And he's a fun back to watch.
Yeah. And the late game, we've got, is it the late game? The fact that it's in Hamilton? This Saturday should be interesting.
It's an 8 o'clock game for us. So the first game's at 5, second game's at 8.
Got it. Calgary's rolling into Hamilton. Whew, boy, I can't wait to hear what you say here. Let's go.
I am going all the way with Arbuckle. Arbuckle's going to go in and continue to show the rest of the world to finally get on board with what Ray is saying, because the Hamilton Ticats are not going to be able to defend the Calgary's offense.
All right. This is where I got to make up some room in the picks. I'm going Hamilton. Hamilton bouncing back big after that embarrassing.
You take Hamilton every week.
Maybe.
And then you put Hamilton second in your power rankings.
They're down to 4th, right?
Andy, that's why you're 8-7.
By the way, I picked them every week, and they're 3-1. And the one loss, you picked them too. So calm yourself now. Calm yourself. I'm going Hamilton. I think Hamilton's going to bounce back big after that embarrassing loss to Montreal. And again, this is a young quarterback that's got more and more tape out on him, and a little Fajardo syndrome could be hitting Arbuckle as well. And I'm going with Hamilton.
Listen, Hamilton's a tough place to play as well. We've been there.
Yep.
But I think with the experience that he had in Saskatchewan, he'll be road ready to take on these Ticats today.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Ray, let's talk some fantasy, because that was potentially even more painful than our picks. All right. Here's a quick update on how we did last week. I managed 73.6 points on the week. I, of course, had Thomas Erlington just like you did, and just like probably 95% of CFL fantasy players did, I think.
Yeah.
So that was a killer. 73.6 points. That moves me to 303.2 on the season. That's pathetic. That's well under a 100-point average on a weekly basis. So I really got to get going. I'm still down in 5th in the FDS pool, though. That moved me up to 41st in Schooners. As you know, nice. I was way down in the 50s. You had an even tougher week. 46.4 points. That brings you to 336.3 on the season. I'm 33 points behind you. I'm in striking distance.
But Andy, I was a moron again. And I was doing something cute and then forgot about it come time to change my roster.
It was Brian Burnham, wasn't it?
Brian Burnham got hurt.
Yeah.
So that's 2 guys with a 0. The only thing that saved me this week was the fact that Lamar Duran had 27.5 points.
Yeah.
I had 3 BC Lions receivers going against Toronto. And Duron Carter had 4.7 points, Andy. Needless to say, should I go back to the lazy wide receiver conversation? I'll leave that for another day. Anyways, it was a bad week of fantasy. I was being cute and stupid, and it came back to haunt me. But it's not happening this week, Andy.
Well, that keeps you in 3rd, by the way, in FDS, if you wanted to know, and you were wondering about the Schooners, and that you have moved into 31st position.
I was 14th overall.
You were doing pretty good there.
Bouncing back this week, and let me take you through my roster, because I'm not fooling around this week. I'm going with the young take-it quarterback, Arbuckle, as my quarterback.
He's dirt cheap, so why not?
Why not take him? I got Stanback as my running back, along with John White from BC.
Okay.
I got Greg Ellingson and Lecky Whitehead as my wide receivers. And for my flex player, I'm going with Dominic Rhymes out of Ottawa with no defense. I'm taking winners this week, Andy. We're putting up 140 points this week on fantasy.
Woo! All right. I'm also going Nick Arbuckle as of now. This is always subject to change, but I'm also going Nick Arbuckle because he was just too cheap, and the other big starters are really creeping up in price.
Yeah.
I'm starting both Andrew Harris and CJ Gable at running back.
Nice.
I spent big money on running backs. I think Harris is going to run wild, but I'm banking on them both. I got Eric Rogers at one wide receiver spot and Dominic Rhymes at the other wide receiver spot. And my flex is Shaq Johnson. I'm hoping for those return yards and things like that. So, again, subject to change. I will probably change this, and my change will probably result in fewer points than had I just left it alone. That's how it rolls.
When I did my first set of fantasy, I did the Harris-Gable combination as well, but that didn't work out for me a couple weeks ago. So I thought I would change it up with a couple other starting running backs.
Yeah,
and that's how I got to Stanback and White.
Well, I got you. I was tempted to go with Willie Stanback, but I don't know, man. I just don't love Montreal's. I don't love his chances of repeating such an amazing game. That said, I did pick them to win. So We'll see. Anyways. That's it, folks. Enjoy week 5. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click subscribe down below somewhere. Click like or dislike. No problem. We're not offended by either one. And leave a comment. If you are listening to this podcast, find a subscribe button on your podcast provider because you can find our podcast on any of them. And click that too.
That's it. Right. And listen, people, just one last word before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's try to go out and be nice human beings. All right, let's try to be nice people. Don't catch yourself being a Joe Russo.
See you guys.
See ya.
Joe Russo.